Welcome back to another circumlant. I'm sorry.
Succulent.
Let me go. No, not succulent. Welcome. Listen to me now. Welcome
This
back.
is not going to be a succulent episode of Talking
No,
Lamar.
it's
I was
not.
hoping
It's
for
not.
succulent myself, Sheri.
No,
I
no,
was.
no. Welcome back to another circumlocutionary episode of Talking Lamar.
Your succulent host.
Today, I'm talking about surviving childhood without seatbelts, bike helmets, or any adult supervision. Let's get to it.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
I am talking to you.
That's just what I was talking about.
It's Talking Lamar.
You know, we've talked a lot about my mama, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. She was, as a child, she was my whole world. I mean, she was the thing that, you know, she formed everything. She explained everything. She enforced everything. She was everything. She didn't take no shit. And when she spoke, I listened because I found out the boundaries by stepping over them just to see where they were. And there was never a doubt of what I could do and what I couldn't do. And I learned by doing, trial by error, you know? And when it was required, her punishment was quick, memorable, and it was followed by a thorough explanation of how things had went that way and a big dose of love. But when she taught me a lesson, she taught it one time. There was no do-overs. It was, you knew what the deal was. And a lot of that was having to do with safety and that kind of stuff, because when I was a kid, I go outside and she might not see me again till time to eat. Then I go back outside again. And I mean, so I was just roaming all over the place. Now, we had a lot of land, and as long as I stayed out of the road, everything was fine. But I really got a dose of this one day. We had been somewhere uptown or whatever. So we're coming back. And as we pull in, I'm in the front seat with my mama, and she was driving, of course. And so we pulled in, and I'm about 6 or 7. And when she turned into the driveway, I saw my grandmother on the porch, and I was going to run to see her. So I grabbed the door handle, opened the door, and jumped out. Well, when I did, I just slid right up under the car. Car was still going. And she slammed on the brakes, and the car come to a stop with the rear wheel probably 2 or 3 inches from my neck. I mean, I was a dead man or dead kid. And I knew, man, that was not good. But my first thought was, okay, I'm good. And mama's going to be so happy I'm alive. She come running around the car, and she's screaming and hollering, and she's crying. And she gets me out from under there, sort of dusts me off a little bit. She looked me up and down, and she thought she'd kill me, I'm sure. And once she looked me up and down and saw I was alive, good God, that woman started whooping me and whooping my ass like it was a job and she was getting paid overtime. I mean, she was looking for a promotion. She whooped my ass and whooped my ass. So then once she got through whooping my ass, she put me back in the car, closed the door, went around and got in the driver's side, cranked the car, pulled the car back up to where it was supposed to stop at and turned it off. And she said, now you can get out. Don't you ever open a car door until the car is stopped. Do you understand? Yes, I did. And listen, there for a while, I'd wait till she got out and walked around the car before I opened up a car door, because she made a believer out of me. But now as an adult, I can only imagine how terrified that she must have been, you know?
We were driving, I was driving Olivia and Karamia on 485, which is a big interstate. And Karamia was in a car seat, right? They both were. Olivia was like 5 and Karamia was 3. And I'll be damned if that child Karamia did not manage to get the car door open. Now, the force of the wind coming by the car pushed it back closed, but I pulled over to throw up and cry. I was out of my mind. Your mama, I did not beat those children like I was getting paid by the whack, but I completely understand where your mama's head was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, buddy, it was on, and it was it was one that I will never, ever, ever forget. And it was a lesson well learned. I'm telling you that for a fact. So,
Oh,
could have been worse. Could have been worse.
yeah.
You know, I have to wonder how I survived because, like I say, once I got outside, I had free reign. And we had a couple of old barns that were in sort of bad shape. Then we had our regular barn that was in okay shape. And, I was just out doing everything, climbing trees, jumping out of the barn loft. I got a pack of matches and went out there and started building fires for a while. At the barn. How I did not burn the barn down, I do not know, because you're talking about hundreds of bales of hay that are dried and sitting there waiting to feed the cows. There's not much moisture in them at all. They would have caught, and what I would get straw and I would clean out a spot on the floor and I'd put all the straw together and I'd light it on fire and watch it till it burned down. The fire, and once it would go out, I'd dust it off. And I get to thinking about
wrong
that.
with little kids? What?
I don't, but because it was amazing because when you get like those stick matches, that you swipe them across there and they fire up, and so you're looking for something to burn. And my mama never knew that, or my grandmother, nobody did, but I could have burnt down the whole place. But if I wasn't doing that, we had a fish pond, and I would go down to the fish pond and I'd walk all around the pond and I'd climb up and down the dam and I'd throw rocks in the water and all that kind of stuff. But I never put my toe in the water when I was by myself, because my mama had set me down and explained in detail in her words, I will whip the shit out of you if you touch that water if I'm not with you. Do you understand? Yes, I understood. And I had no desire whatsoever, because I felt like if I touched that water, she would appear from somewhere and she would deliver exactly what she promised. So I tried to, stay pretty tight on that. And in the third grade, we built a house across the road. And so we had a big pasture land over there. And I guess probably I'd had go-karts, of course, and I had mini bikes, whatever. But when I was about 12, I got a full-fledged motorcycle. And, buddy, I was on it every minute. If the daylight was up, and especially in the summertime, and I that's all I did. And I had a cousin, his name is Bobby, and he was like the cool cousin. Everybody's got one. And he was the coolest cousin. And he raced motorcycles, and so I would ride with him and different things. And he was just like, he was amazing. And he won all kinds of trophies and stuff. And I actually raced motocross for a while, and I won some trophies and stuff, but it cost a lot of money to keep it up. But I know this is a surprise, but I was a big show off. I really was. So I worked. I can't tell you how many.
You were kind of gregarious and outgoing and enjoyed attention.
Yeah. Shock. And so by myself, I would sit there with a motorcycle, and I cannot begin to tell you how many times I fell off of it. But I wanted to learn to ride on one wheel. That was a big deal for me. It was a big deal for me. And so I really got it perfected. I got it perfected pretty good. At one point, we measured it. Me and Troy measured it. At one point, I could go for a quarter mile on the back wheel of the motorcycle. Because once you find that balance spot, hell, you're good to go. It's not much difference on a unicycle once you find the balance spot. And so every time, like I would be riding out in the front yard, and so I could see like a mile away when cars were coming. So, man, listen, I should have charged a quarter, because every time I'd see the car coming, I would time it just right, because we had a long driveway, and I'd go up the driveway, wheeling the driveway, entertaining the cars that come by. And so I was pretty much a daredevil as far as that goes. But one day, and I always wore my helmet. I was really good on a motorcycle. I wore a helmet. Bicycle, no. I mean, but and riding around normal. But if I was really doing some serious riding, I would wear the helmet. So I'd been riding all day, and my dad wanted me to go check on the pasture fence. So I jumped on a motorcycle, and I just wasn't thinking. So I drive down, and it's about a half a mile from the house, and then you turn on a dirt road to go back behind the property where we wanted to go check. Well, as soon as I turned on the dirt road, I looked up, and there was two guys working on a barn, and they were about 50 yards away, and they're up there hammering on the barn. So I'm thinking, oh, let me give these guys a show. So I whip it up, and I'm wheeling down through there, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember anything, and I wake up 5 hours later in the hospital. And what I had done, I had hit a rock or something, and it flipped me back. And because I didn't have my helmet on, I hit my head, and the motorcycle landed on me, and blah, blah, blah. So they rushed me to the hospital down in Elberton. And so when I wake up, my mama and daddy, and they're sitting there, and my mama's just bawling. And I wake up, and I'm like, what's going on? I had no idea, but I had been unconscious for like 5 hours. And so when I woke up, Mom told me what happened and everything. And so I had cut I'd cut my wrist on the top of my wrist. I cut it pretty deep. And so the doctor said, look, he said, I can go ahead. He said, I think I can probably stitch this up right, and there won't be a scar. And my mama said, what do you mean? He said, well, if I just bandage it up, it will heal, but there'll be a scar. My mama said, leave the scar. I need him to pay attention. So every time he goes to look down at his watch, he'll see that scar on his hand. And it's right there. I can look at it right now. And she wouldn't let him put stitches. She told him just to, and that was her. And she'd always tell me, look at that scar. Do you see what kind of foolishness you're up to? You know, she was tough. She was tough. She really was. But
Kevin would love your mom. Kevin would love your mom because this is how his mom was. And he just thinks that I was ridiculously soft on my children because I didn't do the things your mom and his mom did. But y'all turned out fine and really turned out to be pretty great. It was
a different day. It was a different day.
It was a different time. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. You know, when I got married to Carla, it'd be time to cut the grass. And Gary was like 14 going on 15. I said, why don't we teach him to cut the grass? And she goes, she said, I don't want him riding a lawnmower. She said, that's very dangerous. She said, so it could hit something and he could put his eye out. And I said, well, he's sitting on the seat. I said, now, if I'm standing over here to the left, it could put my eye out, but it can't put his eye out. He's sitting on top of the lawnmower. It's impossible for him to get. She goes, no, it's too much, too dangerous. I don't want to do it. So I'm out here cutting grass while a 14-year-old is sitting in here playing video games. I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? Because our yard, when we built the house across the road, we had about a 3-acre yard. And on a riding lawnmower, it was quite a few hours of cutting to get that done. Well, as soon as I could figure out what was going on, my daddy set me on that lawnmower. He would crank it up, and I didn't know anything about it. All I could do was just steer it. He would put it in gear, set the blade in, and then he'd go on back in the house or do whatever he was doing. And I'd just ride with a lawnmower and cut grass until it run out of gas. That's how he would know to come give me gas and fill it back up. And I told Carl, I said, I know I couldn't have been over 9 years old when I was cutting the grass. I can't even imagine that. And she's like, no, that's how we treat kids now, though. I mean, and I'm sort of the same way. We're always worried about our kids. My parents were not that worried. They just were not that worried.
My favorite story you told was about the chainsaw in the tree. Can you regale us with that?
I can. I absolutely can. This says a lot about what my daddy thought about it. So we had a pear tree that sat in our front yard. And if I'm not mistaken, I hadn't been down there in a while because Troy's son owns that place now. The last time I was there, the tree was there. And it had got struck by lightning. So it's only a half of a tree, but it still had pears and it still, So there was a limb that needed to be cut. But my dad didn't feel like it would hold his weight. So he said, here's what we're going to do. So he threw a rope over the limb, or the big limb, and then he tied the chainsaw to it. And he said, what we're going to do, you climb up in the tree. I'm going to pull the chainsaw up. Now, it'll be running because you can't crank it. It'd be dangerous for you to try to crank it in the tree. And I was like I say, I was like maybe 11, 12 years old. He said, so when you get it, just, leave it on the rope and then reach up above you and cut that limb. You see the dead limb right there. You just cut it with the chainsaw. So I'm up in the tree. My daddy pulls a running chainsaw with a rope. He pulls it up there. And so he says to me, the last thing he says is, now, if you lose your balance and you think you're going to fall, as you're falling, try to throw the chainsaw as far away from you as you can so that you don't land on the chainsaw.
Oh, God.
Because he was pretty worried about my safety. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was that was his whole deal. Yeah, just if you start to fall, throw it. But hey, I cut the limb, everything went fine. I mean, I don't know. Things were just a lot simpler, I guess. I don't know. It was just
You know what was missing back then that we have now? Like now, because I see this all the time on social media. God help you if you speak sternly to your child in a retail store. Somebody, you are, I mean, you can't even be like, how many times have I told you to not put that down? You don't know when you're going to have someone come up to you and be like, you don't even deserve to have a child. I just saw this go down on Twitter. This woman was minding her business at the grocery store and her 4-year-old was losing his mind. And she finally got right down and looked in his face and said, one more time. And a stranger jumped in and said, I should report you. So like you have to be, it's a different world in a lot of ways, Lamar, a lot of ways. Don't you think?
Oh yeah.
Like, can you imagine saying to a doctor today at an urgent care, you make sure he has a scar so he remembers not to be so stupid.
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah.
I can't even imagine that. Mm-mm.
Listen, let me tell you something. When my mama went to the dentist because she didn't like what it felt like to have the Novocaine in to get a filling, she told the dentist, she said, don't worry about it. She said, just fill it. And he's like, this could get kind of painful. She said, I'll let you know. And she would draw up her right knee and she would hold on to her knee as hard as she could when he put a filling or anything. And she just didn't like the Novocaine.
What?
Said, oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, this ain't the woman. My mama was wiry. She was small, but she was wiry. This ain't the woman you want to walk up to in Walmart and say, you better not talk to your youngin' like that. Because after my mama got through whooping my ass, she'd be whooping that woman's ass. I mean, no. They wouldn't be none of that. They wouldn't be none of that. But see, here's the deal. I can remember I can count how many times I actually got any kind of spanking from my mama, and I'm damn sure could count the ones from my daddy. And I mean, it was a few, very, very, very few, because it wasn't, the idea of it was terrifying. The actual going through it is probably never as bad as I thought it was, but the idea of it was terrifying. So therefore, I tried to avoid that situation.
I did a thing one time where my mother was going to spank me and she went to draw her hand back and she ran her thumb into the dresser and it broke a bone in her thumb.
I know she was happy with you. Oh, no. And like I say, no. And that whole idea, I have had my mom a couple of times. Hey, go get a switch. And I'd have to go get my own switch and bring it back. And of course, just like every other kid that's ever had to do that first one I brought back,
Lamar,
no, she said no.
We both had kick-ass mothers. Do you think that it is the reason that you end up having a certain reverence for women?
Oh,
as
yeah,
an adult?
No doubt.
Because my mother, and I've told this story on the show, but my brother and I were probably about 6 and 8. And we went to the hardware store where we were returning a lawnmower that they were returning for the second time. And my mother, I can remember her saying that This isn't working. Next time, I'm going to take it back and throw it at you. A lawnmower.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
and I were like, yeah, she will do that. I really wouldn't toy with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But listen, I
yeah.
have no
Ooh.
interest. Honestly, I have never had any interest in a meek and mild woman for a relationship. No interest whatsoever. Because my mom, I mean, whew, she was dynamite. I mean, she was, she was great. She was great. Treated me wonderful, but she did not take. Up until the moment she died, I would not have spoken to her in a harsh way. I no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't. No, 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 no. Because she wouldn't have put up with it.
Your mom and my late mother-in-law were cut from the same cloth. They came up tough, and they were probably raised by people out of the Great Depression, right? So
Yeah.
they're just
Yes.
they're just wanting a lot of patience or room or understanding for why are you carrying on? Stop carrying on. Straighten up and act right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pitching a fit in a store never even dawned on me.
No.
If I asked, could I have something? If it was yes, that was great. If it was no, that's okay too. Well, I'm not asking again. I mean, that's just how that was. I mean, oh gosh, no. No. My mom would not put up with that. No. I miss her. God, I miss her. I miss her.
If you had to pick the one thing about you that is most like your mom, what do you think that would be?
I have a really strong thought process about what is correct and what is not correct. And there's really no reason to not do what's correct. I just, she had a real, she had a real line of, yes, this is correct. No, this is wrong. I may deviate on that following the speed limit a little bit, but other than that, hey, I'm pretty tight on that. She had expectations and they had to be met. So,
there's a lot to, we still make women like that. They look different now. They sound different, right?
yeah.
We still make women like that. Those are the women that, they are the true matriarchs. Like your mom, your dad was a hardworking man. He was a hardworking man. But your mom was the heart, soul, and backbone of your family. Your mom is what made and kept your family going.
Nothing got done unless my mama got it done. I mean, my dad would go to work. He would bring home the check, turn it over to her. He just needed enough to go get some liquor and get drunk every once in a while or 3 times a week. And that's what he did. And, now he'd play a little ball. He'd throw the ball and some stuff like that. But he worked. And, of course, she also worked too. But she made 99% of the decisions. She made those decisions. What kind of car we bought, when we built a house, all of that kind of stuff. She was the one. She was the one. Sure did.
What's interesting about that is, we know from a data standpoint, we know that women drive all of those decisions. And yet your mama could no more walk into a car dealership back then, for example, just to name one kind of business, and be treated with respect than she could in a lot of places today. Isn't that crazy? When it was your mom that was deciding everything from what you wore to school, what you ate for dinner, what kind of washing machine handled your laundry, your mom did all of that. All of that. And how far did her schooling go?
High school. She graduated high school.
Yeah. Do you have pictures of your mom when she was a teenager?
No, I do not. And I don't know. Yeah.
Max doesn't have pictures.
Them, but I don't.
Well, Max doesn't have pictures of his parents either because cameras were not yet invented when Max's parents were teenagers.
Actually, I am the keeper of all that stuff. I have boxes of wedding pictures and all that kind of stuff. That I'm the only one of the children who wanted that stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody has to keep it. That's the treasure, man. That's the good stuff.
That's what
you know.
like.
That's the good stuff. Because wouldn't it be fun to see what the teenage version of the woman that beat you one side up and down the other and then told the doctor to give you a scar and then refused Novocaine at the dentist? I'd like to see what she looked like at age 16. I really would.
Oh, she was strong. She was strong. And you talk about like the car situation. My mama negotiated every car thing that was ever bought. She negotiated my car deal. And as far as like who's going to finance or whatever, there wasn't no financing. When she walked into the car dealership, she had the money. I mean, she had the money. And they had to take her serious or she'd pack her shit up and go back out the door. And no, she was a hell of a negotiator. When I bought my first new car, we must have left that dang room 5 times to get in the car. And we drove out to the driveway of the dealership. And the guy had to run us down. She got the deal she was looking for. I mean, she did. She just told me, she said, you shut up. You're involved. You're too emotionally involved in this. She said, because you want this car so bad. She says, I don't have that emotion. And that's true. That's true. If you're emotionally, that's what car dealerships, I mean, or any item, if they're selling it to the person that's emotionally tied to it and they're wanting it, they're in good shape. But if they're negotiating with somebody that don't care whether or not they buy it or not, and that's what my mom was. She said, I can leave here. I don't worry about that car. I don't care.
Yeah, because it wasn't her car, right? She didn't have any feelings tied up in it.
Nope.
Boy, I bet when they saw her coming, they thought this one's going to be easy. But by the time she left, they were sweating.
Yeah, they just let's just give her the damn car, take her money, and get her out of here because we've had enough. Because no. She was tough.
Oh, they got them a good deep taste of Miss Doris, and they learned their lesson that day.
Yeah, they did.
So Lamar, do you still have your scar, or did it fade with time?
It's faded a little bit, but I'm sitting here looking at it. I still got it. It used to be really big, but I still got it. I sure
good.
Do.
So that'll teach you. To make stupid decisions, Mister, won't it?
I can't tell you how many times, every time I put my watch on or take it on and off, I look down at it and I think about that. Nah, leave it. We're going to teach him a lesson.
And that's what happens when you're a succulent man like yourself, where
That is true.
There's so much succulence going on there that sometimes it gets a nick taken out of it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another peek on how you raise a Georgia redneck. I thank y'all so much for taking the time to listen because we've had fun. Hope you did. If so, make sure you listen to every episode of Talking Lamar. You know you're not supposed to stop now because I hate a quitter. If you have any questions or comments, or if you just want to reach out with something, you can go to our app, go to the microphone down at the bottom, click on it, and start talking. Or if you're old school, you can call 844-52-SHERI, SHERI. And until then,